our county, is going to be very, very crucial over the next few years. And I'm being joined this morning by a partner in politics, as we call him. He was called to the ministry at the age of 8 in his hometown of Atlanta, licensed to preach at 13, ordained at 17, traveled the country as an evangelist. Later, he went to prison, and while he was in prison, he studied himself, people, and God. And in 2016, he organized the Yes We Can Worship Center. His mission is to serve and feed a catered meal to the homeless every Friday night at 7. Pastor Sherman, Bishop Sherman D. Manning, that's a newish title, so I sometimes forget. Bishop Manning, welcome.
Madam Queen, how are you this morning?
Well, you know what? I'm going to say good. I'm focusing on what I want, not what I don't want, and manifesting good. I know it's a lot of people are really going through it right now. How are you?
Uh, the typical preacher would like to say blessed and highly favored and all that other good stuff. But the real deal is I have actually went through a state of depression after the election. And I had to take a diet from politics just for a moment because it was like I was punch drunk. I could not believe that this country that I love so much would elect this man. But other than that, we move forward with our tiny homes project. We move forward with housing the homeless. We move forward with continuing to believe that at the end of the day, no matter who's in the White House or who's in the crack house, God is still on the throne. And everything is going to be all right if we just organize, strategize, galvanize, and move forward.
Yeah, well, a lot there in what you said. I feel like everybody's going through a depression. I can't believe how many people I have had to talk off the ledge, including
Yes.
myself, intermittently. But I feel like for people like me, I pray and meditate mostly every day.
Yes.
Sometimes I lag on the weekends, but mostly every day I do. And I've been
Right.
doing that for many years. And, you're a bishop. I mean, do you feel like people that are in a spiritual practice with some regularity and discipline kind of have an obligation right now to step up and help folks that have less spiritual armor on?
Absolutely. A young lady said to me, she called me the day after the election, and I told her, quite frankly, I didn't feel like talking, and I didn't want to talk about the election or any of that. And I told her, if you want me to be quite frank with you, I'm a little bit depressed. And she really pulled my card and reminded me. She says, "Well, you're the bishop." She said, "You're the guy that I go to when I'm down." She says, "I need you not just to lift me up, but to lift yourself up." And I remember what Scripture said, "Gird up thy loins." I also remember where David, when he perceived that his son was dead, he had wept and laid on the ground for 7 days. And the Bible says that David got up, washed his face, and he ended up having another baby. And so I had to gird up my loins. I had to man up and realize that this is not the first time that black people in this country, Jewish people in this country, or even poor white people in this country have faced opposition, and that it is in times like these that we tap into the spirit of the ancestors. We tap into the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, and all of the other greats that have gone on before us. Hosea Williams, names that we've forgotten, John Lewis, and we fight. And we don't fight the way Trump fought by going in and destroying buildings and going in and trying to overthrow the government, but we fight through the courts. We fight through the weapons of our warfare, which are not carnal, but spiritual. We fight through prayer. We fight through organizing and strategizing. We come together and we make a difference. And on that note, Sister Madam Dominique, I've been on an interesting journey for the past month and a half. This started before the election. I visited synagogues because it's just like God tapped into my spirit and reminded me that during the civil rights movement, there were Jews that stood with Dr. King, and many of them were on the forefront of the civil rights movement with Dr. King. So I guess God already knew what we were getting ready to go through So he was tapping into me, getting me ready for what's happening now. So we got together with some rabbis and some close Jewish friends of mine, some of whom have been friends for years, and we started organizing JABA, Jews and Blacks Association, where we simply come together and do interfaith work, which includes my passion, as you know, which is housing the homeless and feeding the hungry.
Of course,
So
and
listen,
we'll dive a little bit deeper into that as we get into the hour and the kind of work that you're doing. It is interesting, though, that from the exit polling, what we're seeing is the only other group that voted against Trump en masse, besides black people, are Jewish people. Really interesting. You would think that because of his hard line on Israel, that might not be the case. But I imagine it's because Jewish people at least know somewhere in their history, in their family history, that when we get into authoritarianism and fascism, it doesn't go good for people who are so-called minorities.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so this has been our discussion. The co-president of JABA, which is a civil rights attorney, Jewish gentleman, attorney Craig Ackerman. This is what we discuss, and I was fascinated to see the exit polling also, but not shocked because Jewish people are very.
I was kind of surprised and shocked, to be honest with you, because the really heavy Zionist messaging that I've been hearing, and some of the, obviously not from everybody, because there's plenty of Jewish Americans who are protesting against the war in Gaza, but some of the hardline advocacy that I've seen around Israel made me think that and maybe it was that creepy TV ad with the Jewish women at the deli that Trump ran. It made me think that they would break for Trump, but they did not.
Well, this is again one of the reasons why I am in the synagogue with the rabbis, with the people, because as you know better than I do, the media has the ability to make things appear as they are not. And the media can be used as a tool to divide people, to stereotype people, and to turn us away from each other instead of toward each other. So I decided I'm going to get in the mix. I don't want to read about it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it on the news. I'm going to synagogues, and I have visited 4 of them in the past few weeks, and I've eaten meals in sukkahs with my Jewish brothers and sisters, and had 3 and 4 hour meals with them, and found out how much we have in common. I mean, it just blew my mind. I didn't think anybody sat around and ate and talked for hours except black folks, but I was wrong.
Well, you know what? We can get more into that. I mean, that's a tradition, I guess, a faith tradition. Cornel West wrote the book Blacks and Jews, and many, as you mentioned, Dr. King had his alliances among the Jewish faith. So we can get a little bit more into that. But I want to throw something at you, and then we can you can give me your take or your thought when we come forward. Someone that I know, that I've known for years, is an entertainer. We'll put it that way, an artist. Asked me on social media, why did your God let him, meaning Trump, be successful over your candidate? Why did your God let him be successful over your candidate? I have my own thoughts on that. I did not answer that question, but I'm curious to hear your take on it, Bishop Sherman Manning. And of course, KBLA delegation, you are invited in. This is the time to talk. 800-920-1580. We here for you. We really are. KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Moments like making my kids my famous meatballs mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that has spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib.
Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Indeed, you're back to me, and you're back to Bishop Sherman Manning. I asked the question that someone asked me, a well-known artist asked me on social media, why did your God let him prevail? I'm paraphrasing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, my initial reaction would be, quite frankly, your reaction, which is to not even answer the question. You didn't answer the question. I see no need to address what I think is a question that has a false premise. First of all, asking you why did your God, I believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So I don't even like the phrasing of the question. Secondly, the heart of the king is in God's hand. When the children of Israel were held captive by Pharaoh, we find out that even then God was in charge. So God allows all kinds of things to happen, and we can theorize about it all day long, and I know that we're here to talk, but some talk I don't even engage in because you're not going to reach a consensus. Everybody has a right to believe. Everybody has a right to believe whatever they want to believe, Dominic. And, some people just want to talk just to be talking, and they're really not going anywhere. My mom would tell me, don't argue with a fool. And you can argue with a fool all day long. And when you finish arguing with a fool, you still got a fool. So I strongly believe that God, there's no way Trump could have won unless God allowed it to be. And I have a right to my own opinion on that, as does everyone else. But what I'm going to do is, as you were saying earlier, I'm going to stay prayed up. I'm going to stay, and I believe that faith without works is dead. I'm not sitting at home waiting on God to deliver a miracle. And in the process, I am organizing, I am strategizing, I am thinking, I am approaching this with a pragmatic approach. I'm trying to diagnose the election. I'm trying to figure out how we did this and why we did this. And I think I have some of the answers, but I certainly don't know it all.
Well, I mean, look, when my sister was murdered, her and her friend were shot by my other sister's estranged husband. I was very mad at God for a while. And then I realized this is how I process it. There is evil in the world. There's dark and there's light. There's up and there's down. There's polarities. There's evil in the world. So I don't attribute that to God letting something happen. I attribute it to evil. Is that wrong?
Yeah, well, see, here again, Dominique, I've lived long enough to understand as a preacher, as a pastor, as a bishop, that everybody is going to have a different take on it. Your take is slightly different from mine. We probably end up in the same location. And when we get into semantics, allow, let, I mean, the bottom line is, I agree with you. There's up, there's down, there's good, there's bad. It is my opinion that Donald Trump is bad. It is my opinion that he is an evil man. It is my opinion that he is, that a lot of the people who have voted for him are not evil people, but have been hoodwinked by his evil.
Yeah.
And I believe it doesn't matter whether.
Well, someone was asking me about that yesterday because apparently the Google search, "How can I change my vote?" has spiked over the last several days. And of course, you can't change your vote. But
he hoodwinked him, and
again,
he's in camouflage. And, I don't believe he's the Antichrist or any of that, but I certainly think he's got some Antichrist.
Right. I mean, yeah, I believe in evildoers, because anyone can be redeemed, right, Bishop? I mean, if he somehow, there was a miracle. Molly Bell says in the chat, it ain't over till God says it's over, and that's true. And Jamie Kazee says in the chat, our job is to keep living, loving, and we will find out. I just think that it's important to talk about it, because if people are feeling abandoned by God, like I was when my sister was murdered, I think we have to process that.
Right. We do. And even that is evil. The enemy, Satan, wants us to feel that God has abandoned us. But what I have to remind us of is that we ain't seen nothing yet. We have been through, black people in this country have been through a hell and high water. We've had water holes sicked on us. We've had dogs sicked on us. Dr. King was put in the back of a sheriff's car with a German shepherd who we thought was going to kill him. We've been through hell and high water before. Please understand that only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. And so it is dark right now. So I'm not trying to paper over the issue that we have a right to be upset. We have a right to be angry. We have a right to be depressed. But what we don't have a right to do is sit upon our laurels and wait on the great by and by and the pie in the sky. We have to organize and strategize. We have to work. We have to get together. We have to fight. We have to arm ourselves with knowledge. We have to get together. And that is what, and I know I keep going back to it, Dominique, but that is what God was preparing me for even before the election. I walked into a synagogue for the first time. I said, I want to see what they are doing and how they're doing it. And the people, the way they embrace me. And what I found out that we have in common, the long conversations we have. That's why I said I wasn't shocked by the outcome of the election, because a lot of what we know about Jews is through the media. A lot of what we know about the Jewish people is what has been perpetrated in the media. And I'm here to tell you that a lot of it is absolutely false and asinine. And so the ones who are feeling abandoned by God, I want you to know God ain't through with you yet. But I also want you to know this is not the time to wax poetic. This is not the time to start waiting on Jesus that he's going to make everything all right. No, you got to make everything all right.
That's that faith without works energy. And we're going to move off this, but but Molly Bell also said, who created the devil? And Paul Lee says,
talk to me.
You got to be wise in choosing your battles. He says, play your part locally and let the performative continue to entertain the circus.
There you go.
All right.
I agree with all of the above.
I mean, so your mission has been working with the unhoused, trying to get people housing, trying to encourage other pastors and congregations to step up with the kind of commitment that you
and
have
we have some
shown.
good news to report on that end. As you would say, whenever we come forward,
Let's do it. Yeah, well, let's do it now. We got a couple minutes before. We got a couple minutes before news, traffic, and sports. Let's start on that now. The good news.
Okay, so I started visiting the synagogues and I started meeting with. Initially, it was just one of my dear friends, Craig Ackerman, civil rights attorney. When I went to his office, I was amazed and fascinated to see photos of Mandela and Dr. King and others. And he invited me to a synagogue service. And I went to this service, and then I went back, and then I went back to another service. And then I started talking to the rabbis and asking them, will you join us in this interfaith work to attack the unhoused problem in Los Angeles, because it is epidemic and government alone is never going to be able to fix it. And I was fascinated by the reception that I received. For example, Rabbi Konevsky, he has a huge synagogue near Beverly Hills, and I don't want to call the name of the synagogue at the moment for security reasons, but stepped up to the plate. What can I do to help? And what he said to me, an interesting story, Dominique, he said to me, he said, after the killing in South Carolina, where the 9 people were killed, he says there was a prayer vigil being held at a Baptist church within 3 or 4 miles of this synagogue. He said, I called the pastor, and I took some other Jews, and we went to the prayer vigil. He said, and it was a wonderful experience. He says, the problem is, since then, I have not reached out to them, and they have not reached out to me. And so he said to me, the fact that you're sitting in my office today is sort of embarrassing in a way, but it's also inspiring in a way, because you're showing that all it takes is the effort. He says, and here we are together. What can we do to address this issue? And so rabbis are coming forward. More pastors are coming forward. Dr. K.W. Toulis, Baptist Ministers Conference. I have never been afraid to express my frustration with preachers, pastors, or anyone else on your show. But I'm here to tell you today that I'm actually excited. I'm more excited than I have been in a very long time about what we're getting ready to do for the unhoused community in this city. And it's an interfaith effort. It ain't just Black Baptist preachers or white preachers. It is the faith community coming together. And we got a lot of scallywags and some who talk a good game, but they're not going to bust a grape, as the old folk would say. But we also have some people who are actually committed to helping us address this situation. And we're doing so, in rapid fashion.
We're talking with Bishop Sherman Manning. You're welcome into the convo. Of course, we are unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know from BIN News. Jack Texera, a former Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for leaking classified military documents. Texera admitted to sharing the information on Discord. Stocks closed lower after a record run on Wall Street ahead of upcoming consumer and producer price index readings. Boeing and 3M shares dragged markets down. The Dow fell 382 points, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq dropped 17 points. A workplace explosion in Louisville, Kentucky has injured at least 11 people. It happened at the Gavaudin Sense color plant, known for producing color in soft drinks. People trapped in the plant were evacuated. And excessive drinking habits are up. Heavy alcohol use jumped by 20% in 2020 during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic and only increased by 2022. That's according to a study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Anthony Davis said his eye injury will not keep him from playing for the Lakers in tonight's home game against Memphis. Davis was poked in his left eye in Saturday's game against Toronto. Davis still has redness in his eye, but he said he has no plans to wear protective goggles tonight. AD is the NBA's number 2 scorer with 31.2 points per game. 7 p.m. tip-off for the Lakers and Memphis at Crypto.com Arena. The Clippers are in action tonight. They're at Houston, 5 p.m. tip-off. Here's one of the strangest stats in the NBA 3 weeks into the season. In the Eastern Conference, the undefeated Cleveland Cavaliers and the 9-2 Boston Celtics are the only teams in the conference above 500. The remaining 13 teams in the East are at 500 or below. 10 teams in the Western Conference, including the Lakers and Clippers, are at 500 or better. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses, like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. Equinox EV and the all-new Equinox offer award-winning quality and style to see you through the holiday season. See why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Chevrolet, together let's drive.
Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Bad Ash Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code SNAP to get an extra 35 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code SNAP for a 35 cents per gallon bonus.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified professionals
pathologist on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
So happy Wednesday, hump day officially. This is your opportunity all day today. We have call amnesty going on, 800-920-1580. Pastor Sherman Manning, now Bishop Sherman Manning, is with me in studio. And Bishop Manning, you were talking about your collaboration with synagogues, something that sort of came to you and started and launched before the election. But the real bottom line of that collaboration is about housing the unhoused, right? It's not just about interfaith sort of unity.
Right. We have we have something that we're trying to do other than just worshiping together. So the elephant in our room is to tackle the homelessness situation in the city, because as I always tell you, I think Mayor Karen Bass is an excellent politician and an excellent person whose heart is in the right place and who has done a lot of things right. And unlike her predecessor, Eric Garcetti, and you know that my feelings regarding this guy, I will never miss the opportunity to remind the public at large that during COVID, I was protesting in front of this guy's house, our house, the people's house, for the homeless, simply asking him to open up some of these abandoned buildings and house the homeless. When he sent his chief executive to call my cell phone and ask for a meeting over Zoom, I agreed to a meeting over Zoom under one condition, that 5 homeless people would be there at the meeting with me with the opportunity to speak. She said, no, he's not going to do that. He just wants to talk to you. In my opinion, in the spirit of Reverend Hosea Williams, that was going to do something to try to get me to sell out. When I refused to do that, Dominique, as I remind you at the point of being redundant by now, his wife had me arrested for felony stalking. This is what they do. This is what they still do to black men in this country. And 6 hours in jail, had to be bailed out by my dear Jewish friend John Eisen. That was a $150,000 bail to get out. Of course, the DA dismissed the case. Of course, I filed a lawsuit against Amy Garcetti and Mayor Garcetti. Of course, they settled outside of court, and they had to pay me. But still, this guy was not for real, and I know he's an ambassador now, and if he's listening, you know you're not for real, as do I. I digress. Karen Bass is doing a wonderful job, but she cannot do it alone. It's going to take the civic community. It's going to take pastors and atheists and agnostics and rabbis and priests coming together to say we may not worship alike, but we do agree that we have to do something about our fellow human beings who are sleeping outside in the cold. And that is what we're doing, and that is what we need others to help us do. We're going to approach this tiny homes project that we're building sort of as a Habitat for Humanity project. We're going to have college students helping us construct them. We're going to have, this is a holistic approach to what we're calling transformational housing. And I shout out to Norberto Nardi. You got to get him on. Norberto has written many books. He has taught architecture. He is one of the most famous architects in the world, Norberto Nardi. He is designing the Tiny Homes Project for Yes We Can Worship Center pro bono.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you know, I imagine you're encouraged by voters passing Measure A, although you've been very critical about the transparency. And I have talked to some other people off the air that work in unhoused persons services who are saying, well, it's a mixed blessing. On the one hand, we're glad that the funding sources for the unhoused won't dry up. On the other hand, if people are having so much trouble getting anything done or getting help, then maybe we shouldn't have passed it. Maybe we should have let this whole thing flounder so it could be remade from the ground up.
And yes, and I have mixed opinions on that also. I've told you that here before, and I saw one headline on a podcast, on a show that I did with you, that you allowed me to be a part of you doing, I should say, where I said somebody should be in jail. And I'm going to repeat that. I hope that's the headline again. Somebody should be in jail. We have spent billions of dollars on this problem, Dominique, with the kind of money we have spent. There should be no homeless people in Los Angeles. So it's not just a money problem. And I know you zero in on the fact that I talk about transparency. It's not only transparency, it's management. Somebody does not know, because I don't want to be a pessimist. I don't want to think that everybody is a crook. I don't want to think that everybody is trying to get rich off of homeless people, even though some of them are. But if we manage the money correctly, my great-grandmama could do more with $25 than the average person could do with $200, but she knew how to manage it. You know how they could get in that kitchen and take some scraps and put it together and make an entire meal? This has to be the way we approach homelessness, because if it was just a money problem, I read the other day where we spent $24 billion.
Yeah, but we're the biggest state in the union. We have a lot of people.
We do.
I mean, and the thing about it is, you know, as Pete White from LA Community Action Network said on this show, we're pulling about 20 people a day off the streets, and about 25 people a day are falling into homelessness. So to me, that means if we would not have passed Measure A, we could go back to the 25 a day, and the number of unhoused people stacks up that much more quickly. At the same time, I'm hearing from folks that call into the show saying, and even the mayor said this on the show, that there are so many barriers to people getting help, especially black people, especially people who are most likely to stay back in housing, which is people who don't necessarily have a mental health problem or a drug problem or, are recently incarcerated. I just had a friend in that situation and had trouble finding help for this person because they weren't on drugs. They were just, and they weren't, justice impacted, and they weren't on and on, so I guess what I'm asking is, obviously we passed Measure A, so we're not gonna go back to zero. But what practical steps can be taken right now to improve that management and or transparency?
In the spirit of Tavis Smiley, the great Tavis Smiley, I'll have to push back. I still say, even with Operation Room Key, even with the great work that the mayor is doing, putting people in hotels, and I said this on the show before, it costs $17,500 per month to house one person in one hotel room. And this is not the Hilton. These are rundown hotels that are much better than being on the streets. Just take that one case right there alone for $17,500.
I haven't heard that quote. I've heard other quotes that were high, but not $17,500. I don't know.
I'll email it to you.
I can't fact check it in real time. But I know it's way too expensive.
No, you're not going to fact check me. You didn't fact check Donald Trump, so you're not going to.
I would if he would talk to me. I definitely would be. My Google fingers would be flying.
I know you would.
I'd be fact checking him in real time. But the question is, whether it's $17,500 or $4,000, it doesn't matter. It's too much.
It's too much.
And I've advocated, and you've advocated for the city to just buy these hotels.
Yes.
I feel like the city should take them by eminent domain. Because
that's what I tried to get Garcetti to do in COVID-19.
And they won't.
Every right to do it. It wouldn't.
And they won't.
Wouldn't even consider it.
Even though the people, even with the high amount the city's paying, those people are being mistreated. In many of those hotels, they won't even give them, linens, which is part of what you pay for. It's supposed to be not just the hotel. It's also supposed to pay for supportive services around, to be fair.
Right.
So it's not just $5,000 or $17,000 for the room. However, to me, if you're in crisis and these folks are running crime centers, then we should take them there. I guess
I did see recently where the city is suing one of the motels on Figueroa. That is a crime. They found out it's allegedly being run by gang members, even owned by gang members. And this is one of the places that we're housing the unhoused. And this is a place that I almost have to be chaperoned to go in there myself, and I'm the pastor. Literally, I pulled up at the hotel one day. Who are you? And I told him, well, oh, come on, Bishop. And once I got to see what was going on around there, it's definitely a gang area. But the city is suing this motel as we speak.
Yeah. But, you know, when it came time to build a freeway or supposedly build a parking lot, they're quick to take black people's property. Just go take the doggone hotels.
Happened in Atlanta
they are
also,
crime magnets. They are a problem. And why are we subsidizing
They
that?
took a church in Atlanta, Georgia, a traditional church in Atlanta. I wish I could Google it. Trying to think of the name of it. But when they were getting ready to build a new stadium.
So we already know that it's highly unlikely that the city's going to do that.
Right.
What they like to do is pay way too much money for something and then, you know.
And that is what I'm
sink
getting
money
at.
into renovation. But what about things they could and would do that need to happen? I mean, I know the mayor has been talking. I know they're in motion to change the evaluation tool about who gets placed where and who gets help. But when we come forward, when we continue this conversation, Bishop Manning, what could they do right now, or what ought they do right now, or what should we, the people, be pushing them to do right now? We'll look at that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud.
A great place for progressive politics.
KBLA Talk 1580.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
For older adults in LA County, staying connected is more important than ever. Free Wi-Fi access helps you keep in touch with loved ones, stay informed, and manage your health through telehealth services. Whether video chatting with family, following news, or accessing health info, the internet is here to help. Don't miss out. Find your connection at libraries, parks, and community centers. To learn more about these resources, visit lacountyandU.com. That's lacountyandU.com.
Dr. Renee here. Did you know this time of year is considered peak asthma season because we typically see a spike in asthma-related hospitalizations? If you have asthma and are having difficulty breathing despite medication, it's time to check in with your doctor so you can help avoid landing yourself in the hospital this season. To learn more about managing your asthma, visit www.luma-edu.com. That's LUMA-edu.com. This message is brought to you by Amgen and AstraZeneca.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe. You're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Bishop Sherman Manning is with us, so I asked what we ought to be advocating for, or what politicians, policymakers ought to consider. By the way, I'm really concerned about the passage of Measure G, because making the county CEO an elected position is going to politicize everything. I think it's going to slow everything down. I pray that I'm wrong. But anyway, what ought we be doing?
I just think we should demand transparency. We should demand management. Was it Lincoln who said, make me do it? Which president
But those
said
are
that?
so broad.
Well,
I mean, I'm talking about specific policy changes that can happen now. And I know you know, because you're dealing with unhoused people, and they're telling you, Bishop, I can't get around this.
I don't think it's everybody has a different take. To me, it's not a policy issue. We pass policies all day long. How do you enforce those policies? How do you can't pass, you can't legislate morality. I can't, was it Dr. King who said, I can pass a law to prevent you from lynching me, but I can't pass a law to make you love me. These people are being mistreated in these hotels, as you were saying earlier, not getting linen. I was at hotels all week last week, 7 different ones, and in each one of them, while I'm there, the treatment changes. While I'm there, it's yes, sir, no, sir. When I leave, they talk to these people like they're dogs and they're animals. Somebody showed me a video of the same woman running this hotel, disrespecting her and talking to her like she was a child. And this woman is smiling in my face, Bishop, where's your church? When can I come? How can I help? This kind of thing. So we disagree slightly on whether or not it is a policy issue. I still think it is a management issue. I still think that.
Well, I feel like it's both, and I don't know how.
And it can be both.
How you force accountability, and like you said, how you legislate morality. But I do know, for example, that evaluation tool, the analysis showed that Black people were less likely to get housing. So that has to change, and I know the mayor has got that happening. I don't know why it takes 100 years to do it. To me, you rip the thing up and start over, but apparently that's in process, and we'll see a new tool in place next year. So I think it's both. But
and mentioning tools when it comes to this, in her state of the city speech last year, she asked the business community and the private sector to help me do this. And some of us are trying to help her do this. And if she's listening, I would say there needs to be a centrally located place where we can do what we need to do. Because right now, if you come up with the money tomorrow to build a tiny homes project like we're doing, you might spend 7 months trying to figure out how to get this place zoned, or if it is even zoned correctly.
And zoning is a huge issue for our city.
Issue.
I mean, there was a great article in the front of the LA Times a couple weeks ago about how, now...
And you didn't share it with me? See, I always send you stuff. You don't send me nothing anymore. You used to.
I assume that you read everything, Bishop.
I try,
but
I didn't see that.
Because they were talking about how basically the city has caved on zoning. And so because wealthy neighborhoods do not want unhoused persons, nor do they want multi-unit affordable housing projects in their communities, that basically the city has caved and said, okay, well, we're only going to create density in areas that are already dense, and they've excluded all of these neighborhoods. So if you're talking about rezoning, their proposition was it has to be in every neighborhood. It can't just be, the burden can't just be in South LA and Southeast LA.
Right. But the problem that we're having is we don't even know who we should be talking to at times. Sometimes you call in the supervisor's office and you don't get much help there. I'm having a brain freeze. There's a Black female supervisor, very well known. What is her name?
Supervisor Holly Mitchell?
Yes. Now, her office is great. Shout out to her. But a lot of these other supervisors, they don't return phone calls. I had to tell one of them once, I said, I'm not a constituent. I'm not looking for any help. I'm looking to help. Can I get anybody to call us back? 3 weeks before we got, I'm a little brash sometimes. That's the Hosea Williams in me. So I just drove to the office one day and said, I ain't leaving until I see so-and-so. And I didn't leave until I saw that person. But it's like some of them don't know what they're doing. And the mayor said, this is an emergency. We're going to cut through some of the red tape so that has just not happened. And I don't think it's her fault. I think it is the people beneath her who are not always doing what it is that she wants them to do.
But, I think all of us bear some responsibility. Me, you, the mayor, the people beneath her.
Certainly.
So the tinyhomesproject.com, what are you asking the community for, Bishop?
So that is a new website, and I shout out to Jason at Get Visible, who has come forward to do this website for us. We are asking those who want to be involved in helping to build tiny homes in the spirit of Jimmy Carter and Habitat for Humanity. We're asking college students who need to earn extra credits by volunteering and things of that nature to contact us and help volunteer. And certainly, if someone wants to donate to the Tiny Homes Project, they can do that. All that information is at the tinyhomesproject.com. And this is a part of the JABA effort, Jews and Blacks Association, and certainly it is under the umbrella of Yes We Can Worship Center, which is our mothership. And what I have decided, when I first started this housing work that I love so well, I was going to house everybody. I was going to solve the problem. I mean, I'm the man for the hour. We're going to get this done. And then when reality kicked in, I had to finally rationalize and realize that I can't help everybody. I'm only one man, but I can teach others to help somebody, and I can do the best that I can. So the Tiny Homes Project is a holistic approach to housing.
So who will be there, and when do you expect to have it done? Like how will people get to be residents of that?
Through our screening process.
So it's going through your church, the Yes We Can.
Yes.
And I know you have regular folks that you work with and help.
Yes, so there's 15 units. Each one of those will have 2 occupants, but this won't be just regular housing. We're going to have classes, seminars. We're going to treat the PTSD that I've told you about a lot, post-traumatic street disorder. We have psychiatrists and psychologists who are volunteering their time to help us treat these patients, because these are patients. When you just throw housing at the problem, it's like throwing money at the problem. So this is a holistic approach to transformation.
I want to throw money, housing, and psychologists at the problem. So you'll have 30 folks, basically.
Yes.
And then I imagine the goal is for them to move into permanent supportive housing.
Absolutely. But we're going to treat the trauma. And because when you treat the trauma, you don't have to deal with the drama, because most people who have been homeless for a while have a lot of trauma going on there. And so we're going to teach them how to get it together. We're going to have a multipurpose room, not a church. And this multipurpose room, each week we'll bring in rabbis, imams, priests, and certainly we'll bring the bishop in every now and then and let him say something. But we're going to treat the person, because this ain't a problem that church can solve. This is not a problem that synagogue can solve. It's also not a problem that politics can solve. But this is going to be a model. And I want you to mark the day that I told you this here, that 1 year from now, you're going to be bragging on how good this thing is. And we're going to scale it across the state, and we're going to drastically help the unhoused situation.
So you're really trying to get this open within a year?
Yes.
It's a fast timeline.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And tell folks how they can come worship and break bread. Well, yeah.
Go to yeswecanworshipcenter.org. It'll tell you everything you need to know. But we still, every Friday night, 7 o'clock, and we have a hot meal after every service. And we bring in a multicultural group of people. I used to say that I pastor the black church, but I really don't pastor black church anymore. I'm just a black pastor, because I got white folks, I got black folks, Hispanics, agnostics. We have them all, because lots of times if you help them, they'll come to church. What they say, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It sounds very cliche, but it's actually really true. And but I am excited about this fascinating journey. And if there's any Black Baptist preachers listening, like Dr. K.W. Toulas, who I know listens to you, the president of the Baptist Ministers Conference, come and walk with me through this journey as we get to know our Jewish brothers and sisters and priests and people of other faiths, including imams. And let's don't just do interfaith.
So now is that another website? The Jews and Blacks Association. I know we got tinyhomesproject.com if you want to volunteer.
Right.
I'm sure you'd take any volunteers.
Right.
Yes, we can. Worshipcenter.org. Is there something else for the Jews and Blacks Association?
Full transparency, because I'm talking to you now. If I was a politician, I'd try to dance around the issue. We just got JABA together about 3 weeks ago, so we ain't got no website.
Watch this space. Watch this space. Bishop Sherman.
But when you go to the tinyhomesproject.com, if you click on Interfaith work, you'll see everything about JABA right there.
Bishop Sherman Manning, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
KBLA Talk 1580.
I was gone already?
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know from BIN News. Jack Texera, a former Massachusetts Air National Guardsman, has been sentenced to 15 years in prison for leaking classified military documents. Texera admitted to sharing the information on Discord. Stocks closed lower after a record run on Wall Street ahead of upcoming consumer and producer price index readings. Boeing and 3M shares dragged markets down. The Dow fell 382 points, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq dropped 17 points. A workplace explosion in Louisville, Kentucky has injured at least 11 people. It happened at the Gavaudin Sense color plant, known for producing color in soft drinks. People trapped in the plant were evacuated. And excessive drinking habits are up. Heavy alcohol use jumped by 20% in 2020 during the worst of the COVID-19 pandemic and only increased by 2022. That's according to a study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over...
Anthony Davis said his eye injury will not keep him from playing for the Lakers in tonight's home game against